Good morning.
Good morning.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Okay, everybody take out your books. Let's read a chapter. All kidding aside, I am so excited to be here with you at Citi Field. I want to thank our hosts here, the Mets. Thank you for hosting us here on this rainy morning. And I'm just going to put in one plug, and it's going to be nonpartisan, but go out and vote.
Yes.
Please vote. No matter how rainy it is, no matter how inclement the weather, you got to vote. You got to vote. So, why am I so excited to be here? Because number one, these yous are my people. I mean, queens. And it's so important because I will tell you that as I've been able to do the work that I've done, I started as a classroom teacher, spent a decade in the classroom. And in the high school that I taught in, I had a significant number of English language learner students that I would work with every single year. I had a number of students that didn't always have the best literacy skills. And as much as I tried as a bilingual social studies teacher to make my classroom print rich, to make it an engaging classroom, to make it multicultural, to have different kinds of genre in my classroom, I was an amateur. And the person, actually in my high school, I was very blessed. We were a high school of 1,200 students. We had 3 librarians. Wow. Right? I was very, very blessed. And my 3 best friends in that journey to literacy were my librarian colleagues. Because they would help me. They would help curate reading lists. So as I was taking my American government students through the Federalist Papers, they would help curate lists that my students could come to the library and then sit and read, or else we would go as a classroom. When we were doing the research part of our research paper, the librarians were the masters of helping students to understand how to access rich print literacy, but then they also were masters at helping students to actually log on and do online searches and to weed out the real news from the yeah, you say it because I'm not going to say that anymore. I remember that they did a storyboard that they helped my students and I do that traced the origins of the Underground Railroad. And all along the way, they had different authors and they had different timepieces. There were biographies, and some were about the geography of where the slaves, as they were moving through the Underground Railroad, where they were. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I couldn't do that. But as I was able to work with my librarian colleagues, they weren't just librarians, they were seekers of knowledge. They helped my students to be seekers of knowledge. They helped to make sure that what we were doing was aligned with best practices. So when I say to you that you are my people and that I am honored to be here, it's because I've seen the power of a library in a school, and I've seen the power of librarians working hand in hand with teachers in a school to create a learning environment that is rich. Are you with me?
Yes.
Great. So here's our challenge. Here's our challenge. As we've kind of gone through those educational pendulums in education, certain things become things that people say you need to have. Like right now, everybody says if you have a school, you need to have a makerspace. Right? Have you heard that? Yeah. It needs to be about STEAM and STEM. You heard that?
STEAM.
Now, I don't disagree with that. But what I would say is that even if you have a makerspace, if the kids don't know how to research and how to build what they're going to build for a purpose, then what good is the makerspace? Right? That happens in the library. And I will tell you that as part of that pendulum for some time, it became out of vogue to have a library. And the argument was such that we have all of these electronic resources now. Kids can search the internet, right? We don't need to have a space where there are books. I'm going to tell you that as a chancellor, as an educator, I fundamentally disagree with that point of view. Last week we announced a $17 billion capital campaign. Well, it's a capital budget for building and upgrading our buildings and reducing overcrowding and adding air conditioning. And moving the portable classrooms, I think we call them temporary unit something or others, a trailer. When I taught, I actually taught in a trailer for a while, and in Arizona that was cool because I could control my own air conditioning in my trailer. So it became a learning cottage. I told the kids, you're coming to the learning cottage, right? And we're behind a fence, so we're in a gated community. But part of this capital plan involves building new schools, and it also involves refurbishing old schools. And in New York City, I'm going to very diplomatically say we have a historic portfolio of buildings, which is another way of saying we have some old buildings. But I'm going to tell you, in every single one of those restorations, in every single one of those new constructions, you're going to find a library. You're going to find a library. And most of those designs, you're going to find a library not at the end of the building, not in the annexed part of the building. It's going to be in the middle, in the heart of a building. And why do we know libraries are so important? Because we know that everybody, because they are human beings, they need a spot. They need a space where they can come, they can relax, they can explore, they can be creative. They can, if they're going to get online, they can get online and do research. If they're going to read, they can read. And I want it to be so that in New York City, our students do not think of it as passé, but think of it as a fundamental part of their day where they can read for pleasure, not just for purpose. That's part of our literacy campaign. And I want to make sure that our libraries have materials that are reflective of who our students are. And it should be important that our students see themselves in the materials that are in their schools. That they can see their own journey from wherever their parents or grandparents or they themselves may have come from. And now they see themselves here in New York City, that they see their path not only realized, but they see it reflected and valued in the materials that they read about, the stories that they hear about. And quite frankly, and I got to tell you, I met some of your authors today in the authors that they read. They should be here, like Mr. Maldonado, who's one of our teachers and also one of our authors. I think that's beautiful. We should be capturing that in everything we do. I just came from the Queens Library, where I had the opportunity to be on a panel with President and CEO Dennis Walcott, who's also a former Chancellor. And when Dennis and I have had many conversations since I've come to New York City, but the one thing that we've agreed that we're going to do, and the one thing that I've agreed with all of the presidents and CEOs of the library systems in the greater New York City area, is that we want to continue to strengthen our partnership with the public libraries as well. Our students should see a ubiquitous path from where they are in school to where they go at in those evening hours. And while it may be good, they're going to shoot some hoops at the basketball court, or they're going to go kick some balls on the kickball and the soccer field, I think it's also a pathway for our students to be able to see themselves going and spending time in our public libraries as our public libraries work with our school libraries. And let's you know what, let's remove the prefix. Let's just call them libraries. Let's just make it so that students see libraries as a place where they want to be. So that maker space isn't just building something that's physical, but that maker space is also building knowledge, building understanding of the world and the world that they're in, and that we have incredible educators that are skilled in the literary arts, educators that are skilled at the research components of what it takes to make an argument and support your argument, educators who believe that their classroom is the entire school. We call them librarians. We call them librarians. I call them you. So I wanted to be here today to share a few remarks with you, but more than anything, to celebrate the great work you do every single day for the children in New York City, and to say to you that we will not rest until every one of our 1,800 schools not only has a robust school library, but also has a school library that is staffed by a certified, trained, dedicated librarian. That's our goal. So with that, I want to say thank you. Have a great day of learning. I may be popping into one of the two of the sessions because I just can't help myself. But on top of that, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. And remember, go out and vote. Thank
on that note, there really isn't anything else to say.
Nothing.
No.
So first, we can applaud the
Yes.
words of the Chancellor.
Yes.
We are at a pivotal moment in time. Pivotal. You have to vote, and then you have to lead out loud. So, we are going to break. There are concurrent sessions starting at 11 o'clock to give you time to get to your sessions. Remember, the session that was by John Curry is now canceled.